Today we're going to talk about the 5 things you need to have to raise healthy chicks. And maybe we'll throw in a couple extras. So we'll start with food and water. Those are 2, not 1. For food containers, you have choices like you can use these ball jars, mason jars with these containers that you get on. You can get these at Tractor Supply or any local farm supply store, feed stores. The only issue I have with these is you can fill the jar up, right? And then you flip it over and then the jar goes to about half as it fills this up. One of the advantages to this is it's hard for the chicks to scatter it. So it keeps it pretty well contained. Same with something like this. You just put your feed in here. They have to pack in there. This one's a little lower than this. So if you have smaller chicks like silkies, or if you're doing something like quail, then this would be better because they can get to it easier. This is something we just 3D printed straight off, the files off the internet, and a couple hours later, there you go, you got a feeder. The other options for feeders are just bowls. Household bowls that you have. This was something that we had for feeding or watering a small animal, or it was decorative, but that's just something you probably got laying around your house you don't have to spend any money on. The first month or so, these chicks aren't going to go through a whole lot of feed, and so you can just keep this. You just have to watch it and make sure that you keep it full a couple times a day. They will scratch this one out. By that I mean they'll get in there because they have that instinct to begin with, and they'll start scratching the food and they'll throw it out outside the bowl. Don't worry, they'll eat that outside the bowl too. But what's fun about this, or even something like this, if you put food in it, after they're about a week and a half old, the instinct to do the dirt bath kicks in. And if you've ever seen a little chick doing a dirt bath, it's somewhat hilarious. Then we move on to water. You can start with a bowl like this. The big thing about little chicks is they run 900 miles an hour and then fall asleep wherever they're at. So they'll run, and then just collapse. So that's why we have the rocks in the water. So you have just enough water level in here so they can just peck at it and get their water. And if they happen to fall asleep while they're drinking water, they can just fall over to the side, or their head rests on a rock and you don't have to worry about them drowning. Same goes for something like this. This is another water option. This has got marbles in it. Serve the same purpose to keep them from getting their head stuck down too far in the water. Food, water. Now the other thing they have to have is heat. Now this is a brooder. This is something we got off of Amazon. We have another one that I like better. This particular one I don't recommend because the temperature knob here is not very accurate. For the first week, you need to keep them at like 95 or between 95 and 100 degrees, and then you can drop it a little bit week by week. The problem that we've seen with these is the chicks, once they get just a little bit older and they're running around and they're knocking into stuff, and we actually had this happen to one of ours where 2 of these came out on one side and pinned the chick in the container. Just so happened we were nearby when it happened. We heard the chick and were able to rescue it with no damage to the chick. But that is an issue with this. This clear container that's on top is to keep them from getting on top of the brooder and doing what chicks do. Boop. And it works to a point. Our other brooder is just a little bit larger, has a larger footprint. The legs are more sturdy, and we just tend to like it. It has the temperature on it doesn't vary as much. So that's it's just a little more reliable. Speaking of temperature, there's a couple ways you can check temperature. We have this one here. When you turn it on, you just stick it under there, and it keeps track of the temperature for you. You just pull it out and you can see exactly what the temperature is to make sure they're warm enough, they're not getting cold. because at that early age, if they get cold, it can be deadly. You don't want to burn them up too much either, so that's why it's important to have good temperature regulation, which this particular one, we do not recommend. The other one, I'll have to get a brand for it. We loaned it out and haven't gotten it back just yet, and that's why I don't have it here on the table. Otherwise, I would recommend that one. The other way to check the temperature, which is more convenient, is one of these digital laser thermometers. 67. So you can just stand outside the container, point it underneath. Oh, look, it is 97 degrees. Maybe we can turn it up to 99 and they'll be more comfortable. Did I mention I cut a toenail too short? Anyway, here's a little something that I built. Very easy to build. Just a little dowel, a couple of spare pieces of plywood. They do like to roost. They'll start roosting after a couple weeks, and this is, you know, the perfect height for them. Another example, 3D printed. We 3D printed this one, and the only issue about this one is it's lightweight, and they tend to jump on it, and sometimes some of the larger chicks would knock it over. The other important thing that you need is a light. So this is just a regular UV light, not a heat lamp. You can use a heat lamp. We don't recommend it for a couple reasons. One, you have to get the height of it just right for the chicks to get under it. You can tell if you have one in your enclosure, if they are always huddled up under it, then it's probably not warm enough. So you have to lower it down so they get more heat. If they're staying away from it, then it's too low and they're getting too hot. But the thing you have to worry about with the UV light or with the heat lamp is with shavings or paper towels or anything like that. A couple of dangers. One is if it falls into your enclosure where your chicks are, you can hurt a chick, you can burn a chick, but more importantly, you could catch it on fire and burn the house down. That's why we don't recommend a heat lamp. We recommend getting heat from different sources like a good brooder and just having the light, UV light, so that they get simulated sunshine. One way that we hang this across there, we usually use a parallel clamp that we use for woodworking, because it can clamp in on both sides with enough pressure to hold it, and then we just hang it with a clamp like this on the bar on the parallel clamp, and that tends to be quite sufficient. Never had any issues with that. Moving on to a couple bonus items that covers our heat, our light, our food, our water, the enclosure itself. I will put a picture of the enclosure we use somewhere in this video. But it is a 100-gallon Rubbermaid horse trough, and plenty of room, whether you have 4 chicks or a dozen chicks in there. Plenty of room, and you don't have to upscale. What we were doing for a long time was putting them in a smaller container. Then as they got bigger, putting them in a bigger container. And we just decided, why not just put them in a bigger container to begin with? Makes sense. So here is some pine shavings. And we put this in the bottom. Maybe the first few days, we'll just use paper towels in the bottom. Because believe it or not, chicks poop, and they do it a lot. And it's just easy when they're that small, just to gather up the paper towels and throw them away, and then just put more paper towels down. And then you can move on to pine shavings. These are the regular size pine shavings. We deal primarily with silkies, and so these are kind of large for silkies because they're a smaller breed chicken. And it's not as absorbent with the small chicks, because it is bigger flakes, leaves more gaps on the floor of the container. So what we have here is extra fine pine shavings. And this seems to work much, much better at odor control, at absorption, and for cleanup. And speaking of cleanup, just a simple, small broom and dustpan works great at cleaning up messes in the bottom of the container. So do you do anything different with your chicks? Leave a comment down below and let us know what you would do different. This is how we do it, and we seem to have pretty good success with it. So thanks for tuning in to Silky Farms today. I hope some of this information was good information for you and you learned something. If you did, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below. God bless and have a great day.